Welcome to Indian Tech Icon Spotlight, Bay Area chapter. Today we have Ramesh Chitor with us. Now, a lot of people talk about alliances, partnerships, but they hold no value without monetization. And Ramesh has been doing this all his career, and we'll get to hear from him how he does this. So let's hear about what Ramesh does in his career, and we'll also touch base upon his personal life and his college and other things that he would like to share with us. Welcome to the show, Ramesh.
Thank you, Sachin. Great to be here.
Pleasure is all ours.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the discussion. So tell us about what do you do? I know, but for our audiences, what's your journey like?
Yeah, thank you, Sachin. So I've been in the industry, tech industry for the last 20, 25 years. I work for a company called Mondee, and we are a travel, transportation, hospitality, global business. And I run partnerships for them and help with monetization and joint value exchange.
So when I introduced you, I talked about monetization, and a lot of people look at partnership, alliances, and not a lot of people talk about monetization. So share some light on what is like monetization. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, look, in any business to be profitable, there's so many ways to move forward, right? You can go direct, channel, indirect. In today's world, especially, distribution becomes very important. Partnerships becomes very important, and you have to find complementary players to work together. And what I mean by that is, if an entity A is working with an entity B, there has to be a joint value exchange. What I bring to the table versus what entity B brings to the temple has to complement, and we go together as a solution. And there's other ways to partner, but that's how you measure the health of a partnership. It's all built on trust and 360-degree mutual value exchange.
Yeah. So well said, actually, because a lot of people don't see partnership from that angle. Partnerships for a lot of people are like, okay, we have a relationship and maybe that's our way to get the business. But I think what you're saying is it has to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
And when we talk about monetization, like how do you think about monetizing something like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question, right? So obviously you want to do as much as you can, but as a company within your own confinements, but there's limited resources for anybody, whether that's people, resources, or time. And if you want to reach your targets at an optimal level, you want to take time to understand what kind of partners could be useful for you, what value they bring, do they tie into your vision? And once you have that kind of alignment and understanding, then you set up goals and you track metrics, whether it is growth in revenue or growth in logos or sales and so on and so forth. But it is very important that there is mutual understanding that we are going after the same goal. It's not that one company wants to get everything out of the other and without caring about it. So you walk together. I call it two in a box. Like there's a famous saying, if you really want to go further in life, you want to find friendly partners or aligned partners so that you can maximize the return, because there's always competition. So this could be one way of differentiating versus the competition, where you don't have to have a whole number of partners, just one or two meaningful partners. And what I mean by monetization is you bring value exchange to me where you have a product or a service or an offering that gets bundled with me, and the common value of 1 + 1 is 11.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
Yeah. So you talked about maybe not whole lot of partners, maybe just a couple of them, but how do you go about it? Because if I have to think about partnership of alliances, there are so many of them I can go with. Yeah. How do you decide which one will work for you? What's your thought process behind it?
There's a great question. There is no immediate answers, right? If someone thinks that they have the answer before they start the process, they're probably, not doing justice to themselves. So there has to be an investigation phase. For example, I go back to the late 90s, right? When I was with IBM for a long time, we were a services, but predominantly a hardware company. We did have software, but predominantly our growth was in hardware. IBM is now known for software and services. So you had to find the best software product database out there, which would run on your hardware to get you the mutual value exchange. So if you want and if for today's kids, to make them understand, if you want your iPhone, your app to run fast on the iPhone, the app has to be good, but the iPhone also has to be good. Right. So it's a combination. That's where it becomes an appliance, right? So if that explains it.
No, it does. It does. So meaning, if I have to put it in like a really layman's term, it's like they have to be mutually compatible, basically, right? That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. Mutually complementary. Both have to fit in a gap where one cannot build it. So any company has these options of either you build or you buy or you partner. So either you take time to build everything.
Yeah. Which is really like could be time consuming.
Could be time consuming. In some cases it works. Or you go and buy, like you make an acquisition of a company or product or whatever, or you buy a service, or you go and partner. So that third side of the tripod is where partnerships make a lot of sense. Where I have my own verse, you have your verse, and then there's an intersection where the magic happens.
Well, that's interesting actually, because to look at it from a tripod viewpoint kind of gives that clarity, you know, what it actually means. Tell us about some of the challenges then when you go in this kind of models where you're looking for partnership or alliances. Seems very promising, but what are the challenges that people generally don't see or miss out on?
This is great. You know, there is, I've seen this a lot where founders that come from a strong engineering on a product background may not immediately get the value of the partnership. And they want the partnership to reap rewards immediately. And partnership is one thing, is built over trust. If the partnership is a plant, you have to water the plant regularly. At the same time, if the partnership is a carrot, once you plant the carrot, you cannot be digging the carrot out every day to see how much it has grown.
Right.
So you have to nurture the partnership. And so the one challenge is how you measure. So how you measure partner sales versus direct sales is two different things. Direct sales is you go after, leads, you go after what can come out of it, and then you rinse and repeat. Partnerships, if you're patient, it's a gift that can keep on coming. You can grow big with one or two really good partnerships.
So that actually takes me to another question. And on the similar lines, it's very interesting how you actually explained it. Direct sales, let's say I am running a company and I have a direct sales. I have control over my own workforce. That, okay, I have this in mind, go and chase, and I want these numbers, and you will do whatever it needs to get there, right? But with partners, it's a little different. So how do you kind of motivate, put that in front of them that this is what we are looking at, and then ensure that, yes, we get there together?
It's very challenging because, like you said, you're paying for the salaries and the bonuses of the people. There's accountability and to sell your product. But in this case, this is like two armies getting together to fight a war against the competition. And they have to be mutually incented in each other's success. So you do things like, for the first certain number of deals, take 10 deals, 15 deals, you have to have buy-in from the leadership team from both sides, from the CRO, CEO, to make sure that the product bakes in and you win together. And maybe you spiff the other team, like you incent the other team, recognize team members from the other side first, before recognizing team members from your own side. So those are some of those creative best practices. And then a big part of that is education, because a lot of salespeople may not be believers in a channel partnership. And this is a fact. Show them the big win. Show them that you have a friend in the fight against the competition. If you have certain intel on the account, now you team up with your buddy on the other side, on the partner side. You call him, you have an 8 a.m. meeting on Monday. Maybe you send a text Sunday night saying, hey, I'm walking into this account. Would you like to join me? Now I look bigger than I am when I walk in with you. So the forces are joined. And then for the first few wins, like I said, you have to be creative about spiffs or recognition at sales kickoff and things like that. Because once you hit that milestone, then you hit escape velocity.
Well, very well said, actually. So this is going to give good perspective around how this is done for our audiences who are trying to figure out, right? I'm sure that a lot of them are still thinking, okay, maybe how do I do it? That probably is a good way to look at things. So we talked about the partnerships, we talked about the alliances, we talked about monetization a little bit. We'll come back to this again because this is a very interesting subject, and a lot of folks outside, they don't know how actually companies make money. I mean, the one way to look at it is, okay, I'm selling something and I'm going to make money out of it.
Correct.
Monetization has different dimensions in my mind. I want to talk about that a little bit, but before that, I want to go back in past where it all started. So let's go back to your college journey, or maybe even before that, like how your upbringing has been, like what made you what you are today? What was that that made you today?
Yeah, so I grew up as a very shy, introverted, middle class, Indian kid, very academic focused, and even through my teenage years and until college. Then a shift had happened with missed expectations of going to a certain institute or not. And then I started opening up and a kind of transformed, if I see as a kind of an inflection point from a shy introverted kid who would be playing cricket and chess mostly indoor, then expanding the horizons, playing for the school and playing for the interstate and things like that. So two things. So one is the personality changed, it kind of expanded. And then coming to the United States later after that for my master's and further down MBA, and getting into relationship management, business development, alliances, which I found to be my sweet spot. And I would never do anything beyond this. So that kind of fits in with my career and, actively involved in community, helping companies out, startups or whatnot.
So you talked about that transformation from being introvert to extrovert. What was that turning point? Was it an influence from somebody in the family in past, or was it the timing itself, like, the environment or circumstances? What was that?
I would say that's a great question. I've never actually pondered enough on that. I just focused on the event, but not the reason behind it. But I think it was a combination of circumstances, from being a high achieving kid, coming first in the whole district and state for the board exams. And then when I went to the next level, kind of going into more intracultural, intramural and sports activities, I think that kind of opened up a little bit. And then doing things like being part of the NDA, being part of the, other extracurricular activities started broadening my horizon. But I think around undergrad is when the shift happened.
Okay. So interesting that, you were into these kind of activities, and then you thought, okay, maybe this is where I want to go. So what was the point when you thought that I have to go to States to study, and like what was the driving force, I would say?
Yeah, actually, there was no driving force, to be honest. There was it was an unexpected event. I was not. Nobody from my family had left. I'm the youngest of the three siblings. Everybody's still doing well, doing great back home, but I had the opportunity, I used to write a lot. I used to write to professors. The early days of internet, where you used to go to an internet center, pay like 100 rupees and write emails to So I got into that. Nowadays I know people are trying to stay away from them for digital addiction, but that was the novelty then. And I started writing to professors, expressing my interest, and then communication started flowing, and you get all these prospectors coming home, and then I had some good friends where we planned things together, and like they say, the rest is history. And then one more thing I'll tell you is, after coming here in the US, it's a different world. At least back then, the late mid 90s, it was different. you have to do everything here by yourself. You're very independent. So I had the privilege of doing multiple part-time jobs and interacting more with people where people around me were not comfortable doing it. And I started doing it, and that helped also with that evolution.
Okay, so coming from that background, coming to the States, and then you said that you were a bright student. So I think the academics would have not been a challenge. What were the other challenges that you faced, and that kind of set the path for your future?
Yeah, so I look at inflection points, right? So one was when after I came here and graduated, the whole economy was going through a downturn, the dot-com bust and jobs and all that. I had the good fortune of working for International Business Machines, IBM, very amazing, one of the best companies out there that used to train people, put you on different projects. I got to travel a lot, meet clients. So kind of that forcing function came as part of being employed for IBM. And then in a role where you would partner with people not at IBM. So even though I was an IBMer, 100% of my time I would spend outside the castle. I would work with an Oracle or a Sybase or others, evangelizing my product to show you mutual value. And by the way, I would compete with HP, Dell, EMC, and Silicon Graphics and all these companies. So and having the backing of a company like IBM, I think really improved with the brand and that kind of transition.
So yeah, certainly I think the big name definitely helps, but I'm sure that along the journey you may have worked for smaller brands as well.
Yes.
So what is the difference you see working for likes of IBM versus a small company? Because you being you, right? Your personality being your personality, your skills being your skills. Obviously, there is a big push that comes when you have a big name behind you. But when it comes to a smaller brand, how do you manage that kind of expectations with your customers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I, for one, believe that if an individual has the opportunity, should consider working for big and small companies of various sizes, because you learn a lot from big ones, you learn a lot from mid-sized ones, and you learn a lot, obviously, from startups. So I had the good fortune of working for IBM. Then I did Cisco, then a little company, Tejile, Western Digital, Rubrik, long before it was known to people. And then, Complex, little known company, Mondee. So what happens is when you're in a small company, you get to do a whole lot. You get to add more value. There is no entitlement to title. You roll up the sleeves.
Yeah.
Whether it is, writing code if you can, or helping with things. No job is too menial, and we are all blessed because, at least for me, being in the Silicon Valley, you get the opportunity for work or partner with smaller, bigger companies. You can learn a lot with them. So I think to your question, the advantage of big companies, the processors are a little more rigid. So the risk taking or the ability to swing for the fences for an individual contributor is less. Whereas in a startup, it's all about growth, right? I mean, it's all about growth, whether you're the product team or the go-to-market team or sales team. So you get that opportunity to overachieve and get that first banner, getting the first logo, celebrating the first win by ringing a bell or whatnot.
Yeah.
That gives you a lot of thrill. Okay, so I think whatever it drives the individual, I think this is something that makes me feel very fortunate to work for companies.
Well, that's a good thing to know about these different companies, like, how big corporations work versus small. I think a lot of people know about them, but living that life. Now, going back to the same question again. So you work for a big company, then you move to a small company. So obviously there may be some, I would not say challenges, it's just the adjustment, right? To accommodate yourself into the new environment.
Yeah.
So that pivot, right? How do you do that pivot? And now you talked about then going back to a big company again, then that switch again. So how do you make your brain work?
So I think that's a great question, because when you're working for a company like IBM or Google for that matter, and then you find yourself in a startup, the processes are different. It's a new stack. So what I would say is be ready to expect the unexpected. When you walk into an office, all you may be given is a laptop, even before you're given your badge. So you're expected to do things because you're expected to be up and running very fast, because the half-life time in a startup company is much less. So you have to make, what I would suggest is maybe take a break or 2 weeks of a break before you switch, because it's more of a mental adjustment than actually how it works. Sometimes you think, am I at fault? Yeah, am I weak? But you find out it is actually the environment. So you have to learn to adjust, fine tune to the hours, to the expectation, new technology, whether it's Slack or text or whatever is going on. So you're being hit by big data all the time, and you need to know to make those, turn the knob up or down, right? Okay, maybe, these are the tasks I get done this week, and maybe I go get an accomplishment done earlier and build a network. So that's what I would say.
So you also talked about, you were fortunate to have the opportunity to work some small part-time jobs. What were the learnings from those? Because when we look at the jobs, everybody's thinking about big tech work, big companies, or something impactful. Not that small jobs are not impactful, but they are lesser known jobs. But I am sure that there are going to be a lot of learning that are coming out of it as well.
Oh, well, I think, there's so many learnings that came out. In my case, after I graduated, in between the time of finding a job, it was hard because the economy was down, and there's not a lot of jobs. So you had to grab whatever jobs that came your way. So I, for about a year, I ended up doing 3 part-time jobs at the same time to support myself and my old 1989 Nissan Sentra without a window on one side of the hatchback, and so to pay your bills, right? But also to explore what to do next. So it was, looking back then, it was a challenging time, but I'm very proud of it right now, right? Because it gave me the opportunity to look and see how a restaurant business works, because I was waiting tables there, or how a religious institute works, because I was working as a priest in a temple back then, and also delivering pizzas, because then you're wearing 3 different avatars, sometimes all 3 during the same day or over the weekend, and you're going through these motions. It's very physical because you're putting in 16 to 17 hours a day sometimes, but you're also getting the pulse of the customer. What does a customer need? If a certain customer wants a certain type of pizza, he's willing to pay $10 more. And so understanding the mindset and how customer service works. And then as you get in, I got into my real jobs later, I could take those learnings and learn to be humble, because that's what it is. Titles just should not be giving you entitlement. At the end of the day, we are all in the community to support each other. I think staying grounded and staying humble and hungry is very important.
So you talked about, learning that lesson of humbleness, but then other parts of those learnings, like you mentioned that the customer expectations, where customer is ready to pay more for certain kind of services or product. How have you taken that into your work after that, when you're thinking about monetization, right? Because that's kind of ties back to whatever we do on a daily basis, right? Where customers may be ready to pay for certain services or certain product features. How do you look at those things from those learnings, and how are you reading the customers when you're thinking about all this?
So we look into ideal customer profile for a product or a company, or with multiple products, it's probably different. So you look into the buyer behavior. And look into, and nowadays it's easy to get all that. What has been the history, track record of buying what? And then you try to overachieve their expectations, because customers, everything. We talked about partners, but we are all here to serve what the customer is paying us for. So that led me to see that if the customer comes and talks not too great about your service or your product or your company, you should just listen, take it in, because he may be having a hard day. He's under pressure from his upline or manager. Maybe the product really failed. So rather than responding with an answer, it is okay to listen take it and digest it and just say, I'll find out and come back with the facts, because you win with facts, you win with data. So that's where the data-driven learning came from. For example, if you're coming and talking about my product, good, bad, or ugly, I can take in the feedback, go back. There's no rush to respond. Come back in a structured way and say, here's the feedback and the improvement or whatnot based on that. It's not very different from what I saw on those part-time jobs, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, it's comparable. It's just that, different environment, different set of customers versus different environment, different set of customers. But at the end of the day, they are paying and we are serving. So I think it kind of that fits well. Just a different industry maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you are in this industry for over 25 years, or maybe close to 25 years now. What is the shift in technologies that you have seen over a period of time? You have seen the dot-com bubble and the burst that happened, and then now we are in the age of AI where everybody is talking about the AI. How that has transformed in your view, like over a period of 25 years in terms of what you do?
Yeah. So when I look into this, in my view, partnerships were few and far back then. The trust levels between companies has matured over time. Distribution has taken a whole new angle, right? So people have realized with all the shifts that has been going on, where you talk about the global shift, we talk about the population aging here in the United States, we're talking about other countries like India and China, where the younger people are more in number. So with all these shifts going on, the key for me when it comes to partnerships is to see the business transitions ahead of time. So we should, in my role, I should be able to see what's coming 9 to 18 months ahead, so that I can now plan up and line up the ducks, whether it is with feedback to the product teams or other teams. And because failing to plan is planning to fail, is what I think. So it takes a lot of homework, fine tuning, and doing fewer things right, as opposed to casting a wide net and bringing a hodgepodge of text.
That's well said, actually. So just focus on few things, and I think the vision comes into play at that point, of course, backed by data. Now, we also talked about AI a little bit, and I asked you that question. So how is AI transforming, and what are the new challenges you see in the world of AI that's prevailing right now?
So, I mean, again, my view on this is AI in itself is actually nothing new. It's been there for some time. The evolution has, if I may, accelerated with the induction of the ChatGPT and things like that, right? So now a lot of mundane tasks are automated. The human brain power is now should be focused more on the creative aspect, how to tame AI as opposed to AI taming you, right? Because the way I look at it is either the computer is programming you, or your device is always programming you, or you're programming it, right? It's like, an example is you've gone to see a certain tutorial on a class. You've taken that, you should have the creativity to exit and come. Sometimes you may not want to follow the recommendation. Sometimes you may want to follow the recommendation. So agentic AI is really transforming this. It is here to stay. AI is like electricity. So think of the days when there was no electricity and electricity has come. So AI has come. Good or bad, AI is going to stay here. There are going to be some non-optimized, entities out there. And our job is to fight the bad ones with the good ones. So AI is here. I was fortunate enough to be part of the inaugural AI lecture on agentic at IIM Ahmedabad earlier in the year. To 2-day course. I highly recommend people go through something like that, because there's a lot of innovation happening there. How people are thinking about next generation applications, how the stack is going to be built. For example, digital experience, Sachin, used to be all about what content you put there, how search engine optimization. Now they are thinking about what is the AI stack looking for it. So that AI has to come to data, and data should not be going to the AI, right? So AI has to be pervasive. So that's one learning. The other thing is, I would say, approach it with trust, but please verify. So you don't have to be scared about AI, but trust it, but verify. And how do you verify? Look at third-party tools that can benchmark it, because obviously there's a lot of not so trustworthy applications.
Right.
Every
Of course,
email that comes to you, you should not click. So I'm cautiously optimistic about a transition into AI.
So it seems like AI itself is a blessing. It just, the challenge is like, how do we use it? And that's, I think, where everybody needs to be a little bit careful, if I'm hearing it correctly. And what's your association with AI so far?
So I've been part of a startup that we did some AI. Happy to be part of a Mondee now, where we are doing AI for travel. I have also been very lucky to be a business fellow for a company called Perplexity over the last 6 months plus. It's been an amazing company. For people that don't know Perplexity is an AI-based search. They do deep search. They use a lot of different algorithms. And most recently, they've also launched a browser called Comet. So a company that you should definitely look up. But I've been associated with them for the last 6 months for enterprise as a business fellow. And I've also associated with a couple of other companies like LayerLens and CoreThink, where I'm trying to help them with the go-to-market operations.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the newest technology and the newest kid on the block, and you're already part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there is a lot that's going on in that world, and you're getting to see it the first hand. Now, we talked about your career. We talked about your current role, what you do in current role. What is Ramesh outside of work? How do you spend your time? You talked about your passion about cricket, chess. So what other things keeps you busy?
So I'm busy in the community. I have communities that we are building and built in the Bay Area. There's one in Seattle, obviously one in Austin. A busy husband, busy dad. 2 kids. One in high school, the other one getting there. But I believe in the power of community, and I believe in hyper-local touches. What I mean by that is there is enough business we are doing over online and remote. But as humans, it is important to have this personal touch. We could have easily done this over Zoom or whatnot. We choose to do this in person because there's so much you learn. And I always tell people that I talk to at work or outside that you should go meet at least 2 new people in a week if you have the time, because if not anything, in 30 minutes, you'll either learn or one thing gets reiterated that you can do better than the others. So I'm huge on the community side. Time is limited, but I enjoy being home when I can and play a game of chess or go to the chess club.
So you talked about your family, wife, and your daughters. What advice you give them? Like, you push them towards chess, or you talk about AI? Like, how does that go with them? Because sometimes bringing that work at home is challenging, but I think that's the need of an hour as well.
So first off, I treat them as adults. They are going to make their own choices, but I constantly remind them about choices and consequences. You choose, take your time, be patient. There's infinite time. In this world, people are rushing, saying that I have no time for that. Where the reality is, there is infinite time for all of us to deliver things outside of business goals you sign up for. But what I tell them is, be passionate about what you do. I tell them the same thing what I tell you: lead with trust, but also know the good, bad, and ugly of what can happen. Be ready to expect the unexpected. We live in this kind of a world where change is constant. Have a buddy system. I mean, age bar doesn't matter. They can learn from others, maybe create friends overseas. Different cultures teach different things. I think as humans, we should look into that as a cross-pollination.
Well said, actually. It's important to understand those values as well. We talk about the business, work, technology a lot, but sometimes these things are untouched, and they are so critical. I'm sure that when you're growing up, you may have learned a lot from your parents, grandparents, all these values.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we grew up, we used to spend the whole summer going to our native, native place, mom's place, dad place, and go for a swim, play cricket, go to the temples, come back, and all that. And all the cousins used to come from all over the country. Looking back, that's something special that we had. When I look at kids now, some are, not everyone gets that opportunity, but whatever opportunity you get, you should try to maximize on that and be grateful for that. Once you lead with gratitude, then good things follow.
That's absolutely true. I believe in that.
Yeah. And that's true with partnerships too, by the way.
Yeah. Somehow we come back to the work now. No, but it's important to know that, some of these principles of life does not just apply on one place. If you believe in it, then it kind of applies everywhere, whether it's work, relationship, with friends, family, anywhere you go. I think that, at least for me, that's how it works. That, if I believe in a principle, it's not limited to just work or this one place. Coming back to the personal life, and we were talking offline, you were sharing your experience, the community work that you do. Would you like to share something about giving back to the community, how you're contributing to the community? Probably it will be good for our audiences to know.
Yeah, so one area that I'm involved is the California School for the Blind. The California, it's part of the Department of Education, and they are, believe it or not, the only blind school in the entire state of California.
Oh.
And lot of kids from all over the state come there, learn. Some of their staff also do not have the gift of vision. So I'm able to see you, you're able to see me, the audience is able to see you. Think about people who cannot see. So I try to work with them actively during their summertime, during open houses with other team members in the community. Occasionally stop by with water or things like that, whatever helps them. But they need a lot of help. The thing is, we live in Silicon Valley. We are there. We are talking about AI and things like that. But there's a lot of people who don't get as simple as a gift of vision, or they're thankful for small things. So the opportunities around you to make an impact. I'm also working with an institute in India, a company which is trying to make specialized helmets, and that can be worn on the head or devices around the belt for the blind. So it's an early prototype stage, but something to give back from technology to the community and vice versa.
That will be amazing, actually, because doing something for those people who really are missing something that we all have. It is really a very kind deed, and I wish good luck that you reach that. We all have reached the pinnacle of our careers doing a lot, but I think giving back to the community, especially where it means a lot, that is really amazing to hear. And I'm really wishing you all the success.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Ramesh, it was great chatting with you. We could have gone on and on with your experiences. For sure, we'll catch up again in our next series of podcasts. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sharing your insights, your journey. It is really exciting.
Thank you, Sachin. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.